Hello, physics learners. Welcome to my channel. I know quite a lot of you struggle with formulas and equations in physics. You see a lot of strange symbols and strange equations, and at times it leads to some mistakes when you solve physics problems in exam. That's why today we're looking at 3 common physics mistakes that students make. And we're going to see how you can avoid those mistakes so that your confidence in physics will improve. But before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Chiadi, and I'm a physics teacher here in Qatar. So let's start. The first mistake students make is plugging in numbers too early. That's a common mistake students make. What does it mean to plug in numbers too early? Now, let's say you have an equation like this. This is an important equation in motion, especially in visiting projectile motion and in physics calculations in motion. And maybe you are asked to find a variable because these are all variables. This is displacement, this is initial velocity, this is time, and that's acceleration. So some students slot in or impute the numbers before isolating the variables. Let's say you are to find t, time, or you have to find initial velocity. So the first thing you do as a physics student is to isolate the variable and rearrange the equation to make that particular variable the subject of the formula of this equation. So in this case, if you have to find t, the time, you rearrange the equation and make t the subject of the formula of this equation. So, but most of the times, some students, because maybe they're in a hurry, they plug in the numbers first before rearranging the equation. And because of that, their work is either untidy or they become confused along the line and find it difficult to check their answers or to get the correct answer. Maybe it leads to a lot of errors. So you don't plug in numbers before you rearranging the equation. First, rearrange the equation to find the variable first. Then you now plug in the numbers. Let's go to the next common mistake that students make, and it's about units. A lot of students ignore units, and that is not acceptable in physics. And the reason is because physics is a science of variables and quantities. You deal with a lot of quantities in physics, and units help to identify the quantity you are working with. So, for instance, if you are solving a physics problem and you give the answer as 9.8, just like you see on the screen, 9.8 doesn't mean anything if it's totally meaningless because 9.8, is it 9? A physics teacher, it will be like, is it 9.8 meters or is it 9.8 kilometers or is it 9.8 meters per second or what? So that's why units are so important. So when you solve a problem in physics, don't forget to include the unit at the back of your answer. This is very important because a lot of students lose marks because of this. Because at times, maybe they're in a hurry to finish up and they forget to include the units and they lose marks. And interestingly, units help you to verify the correctness of your formula. If you use a formula incorrectly, your units that will help you to know that. That's the advantage of using units and making sure you use your units in the calculation. Because if by error or by mistake, or maybe under exam pressure, you're in a hurry to finish up. If there's a mistake in the way you use the formulas, it's going to show on your unit, it's going to show in your units, and that's going to help you to identify that error and quickly mitigate it. Let's look at the last common mistake students make is memorizing without understanding. Very important. Physics does not require you to memorize. What you need is to understand, make sense of the relationship between the variables. Just like the equation you see there is a common equation. Force is equal to mass of the object multiplied by the acceleration. So there's a relationship between those variables. What it means is that if an object is in motion, the force that is acting on that object, producing that motion, is directly proportional to the mass of that object times the acceleration of that object. That's what it means. So it's the force that causes the acceleration. So that's what understanding means, not just memorizing. So if you have an understanding, you don't need to memorize. And that's one of the things that make physics to be fun. We're able to understand the concepts than just memorizing the formulas. Now, let's quickly summarize what we have learned today. Number one, we've learned some common mistakes in physics. The first one is plugging in numbers too early to an equation. Number two is ignoring units. Number three is memorizing without understanding. So going forward, if you're a student, a physics student there, and you're having problem, you're struggling with equation, just know today that you need to understand before you memorize. You need to always check your units. You need to solve your equations first algebraically before plugging in the numbers. So if you like this video, please I'd like you to comment and subscribe for more tips. Thank you. Bye bye.